Morning.
Hello.
Happy December. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We're not ready yet. Are we ready?
Next topic.
Next topic. Children keep saying, when's the tree going up? Listen.
We have 5 trees already.
No, but they're just little.
They want a green tree.
They want a green tree. So we're going to get that done. All right. Let's talk about Playbook. I love this topic. And because we're such sports fans, and I love football season, especially when they pan over to the coaches and they're holding their playbook in their hand and they're
It's actually a game plan card.
I call it playbook, but play card, and they're holding it up and they're taking a look at it and they're calling the plays in, but it's their whole strategy on this card. I would love to see one. I think you could auction those off. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, if they didn't give away too many secrets.
No, true. Oh, I just ate an M&M. Excuse me. Okay.
See, you wondered what happens to the M&Ms
Yeah, we eat them
when they're not in
sometimes.
your boxes.
Uh-huh.
They're right in front of the
Right
carrier.
there. I have them. So let's talk about what a playbook is.
Usually a playbook in sports is everything from every coach has a certain number of plays that they want to script for the beginning of a game. I'm told that the current Bears coach, Matt Nagy, loves to script his first 15 plays. And someone even asked because...
And they repeat them. They have
well, no, the Bears, their first 15 plays have incredible success, and then they drop off from that. And so somebody said, why don't you script more? And they're considering it. So, but usually most coaches will script the beginning of every game. No matter what happens on first down, this is what we're doing on second down, this is what we're doing on our third play, this is what we're doing on our fourth, etc., all the way through the first 15. And they do that because it takes the decision-making process out, it establishes their game plan. Everybody knows those plays, they've rehearsed them, they've practiced. And again, remember, practice isn't just something you do until you get it right. Practice is something that you do until you can't get it wrong. And I think that that's so important. And that's why maybe some of those plays are so successful early on, is because they know, everybody knows in advance, this is how we're going to do it. This is what's expected. This is how we're going to perform. Everyone knows their responsibilities. So they have all of those variants. First 15 plays, then they, and again, I'm not even sure what all's on there, but their entire game plan for the week, what they've set aside for the week, tendencies, offensive tendencies of their opponent, defensive tendencies, what they want to accomplish, maybe who they're, if they've got a spy on the opponent's quarterback, if they're going to double team someone always, like last week, they double teamed a certain defensive player. Because
the point is they're not getting the huddle and talking about the game for the first time today. Exactly. We have already thought about how we're attacking this. These are our plays. This is our strategy. Everyone's best effort. They even know what they replace.
And here's the thing that I'll tell you that always comes up in this. They have 1 game a week. In the salon, or in a business, you have 40 hours. You have multiple
or more. Yeah. I understand that.
You have so many different factors.
Yes, but every week or every day, you don't have a 300-pound lineman coming at you. Might feel like it, right?
Okay, might.
But it's your strategies and your approach and your thinking beforehand on how we're going to get things done.
And it's a rally point. It's a reason to rally the entire team behind a single thought.
Exactly. So when we talk about what does a playbook include, it's the workflows. It's the decision making. How are we going to do this? It's your standard operating procedures, all your systems and the service that you're going to do. And then your cultural values that shape your response, which is your company character. So when we look at this, people will say, well, what do you mean on workflows? Okay. Our workflows is our decision making. It's our hours of operation. This is the staff schedule. This is how we're going to schedule guests. This is the time commitment we're making toward this is how long I want a haircut. This is what I want the guests to enjoy when they're in the salon. I don't want to cut back on that time. This is how we're going to celebrate take home in the salon. This is how we're going to be product experts. These are the things, this is how we carry ourselves in business. And I go back and I think about how many people, and we've taught Cornerstones for years and years. And I first learned about Cornerstones when I was 23, 24. And it's so true. The four things are what people judge. I first learned them as pass, fail. Pass was our product, our atmosphere, our service, and our sanitation. And when I got into this industry, Steve said, change that to SPA, service, product, atmosphere, sanitation, because it complements our business better. And it's so true. When you look at the service commitment of a business, whether it's a restaurant, a movie theater, a take-home establishment, they're all trying to be their best right now during this holiday season. They've all brought it up a notch. Everyone knows this is going to create traffic. This is when we're going to create raving fans. Some people don't care. I had American Airlines once tell me, man, we don't care if you fly our planes. We fill our planes. So they didn't care about their standards. They just cared about money. We can't have that attitude in small local business. We have to prove to the customer our commitment to their enjoyment every time they're in our salon. So when you look at service, product, atmosphere, and sanitation, the service is, what is the service? What does it feel like to be in the hands of these people? I just jacked up my hair. What is the product that's going out? What kind of product are we delivering? And then the atmosphere is all those things that create an atmosphere of the business. And most restaurants that I go into, the atmosphere is wrong because the tables are wrong, the way the tables are set up. And I can tell you sometimes in salons, the atmosphere is wrong because of the way the stations are set up. Like a Happy Place. Every time I go into that restaurant, I say to Steve, they have no atmosphere because of the way they set up their tables. It creates just this cafeteria look versus a restaurant look. Sometimes salons have set it up to where the guest feels awkward walking through the business because of where the stations are located. So many times the atmosphere is really judged on what the guest can see. And then the last one, of course, is sanitation. So these things, what we're working on right now, I went to the school the other day and I saw pictures in the back that this is our resting position. This is what it needs to look like. So we look like we're ready to go all the time. Process and workflows and decision making is, this is what the business is to look like when it's not in use. This is what a station is to look like when it's not in use. This is what the front desk, this is what a shampoo bowl is to look like when it's not in use. All of that protects the business in so many ways.
Well, and as I think about the difference between, or what a team will do when they're playing in a particular sport. If it's football, they'll talk about establishing the run on offense, establish the run so that it opens up the pass. In basketball, there's a balance between your long distance shooters and when they want to score inside. One creates the other. If you're draining threes, all of a sudden you can then open up the lane because all the defense is coming out to play the 3-point shooters. How does that relate in business? In business, especially in the salon, it's what is it that makes other parts of your business possible? So for example, is it your onboarding program? Is it your training culture?
Onboarding is hiring.
Yeah,
Bringing people
hiring and training. What happens before they are behind the chair, taking and serving guests? Sometimes we look and we say, the service isn't going well, or we've got a person that's not doing well. Well, how did they do in their onboarding and their training? Did we prepare them? Because just like the run sets up the pass, the training sets up the performance on the floor once they're there. So, and then we have the right to say, are we, what's our process? Do we make decisions based on that? Is our week, is our activities, is the way we spend our money and we allot time consistent with what we say that we value?
Well, the other thing about this is, thanks, Jen. The other thing about this is if you left this NBA team and went over to this NBA team, just because you're a professional athlete, you're not going to say, well, I'm not running your place. I'm going to run the place that I know from the other team. You've got to be able to do it here. This is how we.
And that happens in the salons.
This is how we do it here.
When someone joins from another salon, or even they move into an area, because there are many salons that won't hire someone that works in another salon, but they'll take someone who's been trained in California that moves to Illinois or Indiana, but they bring that other salon with them.
Yeah, we don't want them here.
Yeah.
Well, we might, if you want to provide a suggestion for us, that's one thing, but the biggest thing during your onboarding is learn how we think here. And if you can't tell people specifically how you think, then your systems or your standards are weak. If this is how we do it here. I mean, so many times they'll say the beverage table must, we laugh about it, but it must be odd cups and glasses, rows. You don't do 2 columns. You always do odd numbers. You always flare your napkins out. You always put your plates and such. That's how we do it here. We have white linen service most of the time, but what does that require? Does that mean if I walk in, they're going to have black plastic on, only with approval, because we do white linens here, and we do those extras. If they work at another distributorship and come here, like that gentleman, tell that story because it always applies.
Excuse me, sorry.
Okay.
Just in one of the times when we had a gentleman join us from another company,
it's good.
We always talk about servant's heart and how we serve and how we host events and that we serve the beverages and the meals and etc. And as part of his training, he was working in an event with Terry and I, and of course we serve lunch and help with beverages and help people get to their tables.
We facilitate it to make the lunch really enjoyable. Yes.
And that night, as we were cleaning up after the class, this person came up to me and said, either I didn't understand or I didn't think you were serious when you said that at PSC we serve hairdressers. And he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to serve a hairdresser.
I'm not getting a hairdresser a cup of coffee.
And that
cleaning up a dirty plate. Yep.
That was his last time.
Steve bid him farewell
at PSC, because you can't be here and not do that.
And here's the part too. When we explain, how can we ask you to differentiate your service if you don't have an example of it? So therefore, many of the people that we hire have never been served in that way. I mean, they're used to a Whopper or a Big Mac and fries. And so when we do those extras...
Honestly, I can remember when we first started hosting a large number of events here that required people from our service staff throughout the company. I can remember it used to be, until we had everybody trained that they knew, it was over and over again having to teach.
Oh, I had to teach them how to hold a cup.
It was calling for them. It would be you and I and whoever, Trish. But all of that changed over time because it became the standard. It's practice. Do it until you can't do it wrong. We don't have to recreate every step of that every single time.
And it's so hard to teach people, but when it becomes your standard and you keep perfecting it, the time allotted to do it shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. So let's say, we have 60 people, and when we were first doing it, I thought, it takes a while to serve 60 people if you don't know what you're doing. And now we can serve 60 people in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, we can get them through the line, everyone knows their role, they hold the plate right, they expedite, people can clean up. And really, we make it look very easy only because it's been done so much. Do it right until you can't do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
And isn't that the same? That's why the first 15 plays.
And we really don't even know. We don't even really know. We don't need an hour for lunch anymore.
And we don't need a lot of communication beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Before we used to have to do pre-show, after show, what went right, what went wrong. And now we just teach people how we think, and this is how we do it here.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many times, if we do have things off-site, they don't do it as well as we do.
No doubt. We certainly experienced that last time in Indianapolis.
Right. So, systems and services. What are the strategies used by the team? And what are the descriptions of the strategies? Now, for example, the red zone. Let's talk about the red zone. It's a whole different kind of defense, isn't it? And why?
Well, it's a different kind of defense, different kind of offense. There's a different intensity about it.
Wow, that's the word I was looking for.
And, I'm told that on defense, and the first time I heard this was last week or the week before, that on defense, what you're working for is to create a reason for the other team to kick. You're either working for a punt or you're working for a field goal instead of a touchdown in football.
Uh-huh.
And I'd never thought. I played defense, never thought about defense in that way, in working toward a kick. Thought that was interesting. Intensity happens because they measure efficiency. Not only the whole game, but you've got a whole different set of efficiencies within the red zone, offensively and defensively. You'll always see those stats when a team gets into the red zone on both sides. You'll see this team has only allowed a touchdown 4 times this year out of 50 times in the red zone. This team has only scored touchdowns X number of times out of X number of times in the red zone. So it's a whole different set of stats. They also know who are the players that perform the best on that team. If it's in the red zone, it's going to go to this tight end, or it's going to go to that wide receiver, or it's going to be this running back that is going to be responsible for scoring in that case.
Well, look at what's even happened visually watching football on television in the last, I don't know, let's say 10 years it started. First of all, it started with the first down line, right? Now it's the line of scrimmage. Now it's the pocket. Now it's the red zone is lined up. Now it's the field goal line. This is where you need to get in field goal range. And all of that wasn't done for the players. That was done for the viewers.
So, right, for viewer enjoyment, for the guest.
For the guest to
They're the
enjoy.
guest of football.
That's right.
The fan.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do, and how do we do it differently from a Salon standpoint?
Yep.
What's your red zone? Is your red zone Thursday night and Saturday your busiest times? Is the red zone, is it more important to win first thing of every day, first part of every shift? Are there shifts that are red zone? Are we thinking about staffing differently because a football team staffs differently in the red zone? And are we staffing differently at those busy times? And do we know what that is and how everyone performs in that case?
And everyone really knows. I think we've talked about this many times, but everyone in a hospital knows what a code blue is. Code blue means someone's in distress, and whoever's closest, probably all hands on deck. But we have code blues in the salon. I don't know if anyone has used it or decided to name it, but when do you know to bring up the intensity? Every station's being used. You don't have an assistant right now. Every assistant's good. What are we going to do? How are we going to make the guest feel important even though it's this busy in here? And that's not easy to do, but it's the strategies. You need to talk about it. When the wheels come off, and what are our plays going to be? When it's slow, because there's plays when you're slow too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just like in football, there's plays when a team is playing not to lose versus playing to win. In other words, they're protecting a lead. It's Packer week here in Chicago, and they're talking about how the Bears in the first game of the season went out and really put on a show in the first half of their first game against the Packers. And then they took their intensity away. They took their foot off the gas pedal in the second half. And guess what happened? Green Bay came back. Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers beat them. And so it's how do they not do that this time, right? You can't just protect a lead sometimes. You can't just be the best salon in your town sometimes. You've got to still perform like you're not the best salon yet. You want to become the best salon.
So even in football, when you look at how do they use the clock to their advantage,
Mm-hmm.
how do they use their timeouts to win, and what are those equivalent in the business world? The business world is how to use the day to our advantage and prime time and is key. How are we checking in? Are we bringing a greeter around to the front? We've talked about that in other classes. Are we going to change the check-in and check-out process when it's really, really busy to make it feel more seamless? How are we going to use our assistants properly during that time? Are they going to be during prime time? They're not going to be a dedicated assistant to one person. They're going to be a team assistant to where the needs are. There's so many things you can think about, but it's part of your playbook. And many of the salons, your systems too, you have a cutting system, you have a color system, you have color products you've chosen to use, service products you've chosen to use and represent, and service steps that you do. All of these are systems you have in place. Do you like them? Are they good? Are they good for the guests, good for the team? Is it maximizing productivity? Does it create seamless service? How does it look to us?
Yeah, and if we don't have a system, you do have a system.
You do have one, you just might not like it.
Or you might not even be aware of it.
Yeah, how are you doing it here? Oh, she does it like this, he does it like this. You need to create a true cutting system of what we do here. Now, could there be different techniques? Sure, but this is how we present color, this is how we do our grooming, this is how we present our take-home recommendations. All those things should be the same.
I remember the system, we've talked before about it being an acronym, the word system. Simplify your salon to earn more. Simplify your salon to earn more. So how do we simplify? How do we create that system and simplify our cutting? How do we create that system and simplify our color? And even our product accessibility, availability, choices, etc. What about those service products and service steps? The thing that I love that they know about football, for sake of example, and I know there's friends of ours that listen all the time that are just not sports fans, but in football, the percentage of points that are scored in the last 2 minutes of every half or the last 2 minutes of the game is so disproportionate. It's a 60-minute game. You're talking about a 4-minute segment at the half and at the end of the game, where the majority of points in a football game are scored the last 2 minutes. Disproportionate.
Yeah, does that just explain what intensity does?
And then I love that even football needs a 2-minute warning. They got huge clocks. They need to stop the game to give both sides a 2-minute warning. And they're just calling attention to that fact that if there's 2 minutes left to go, you better get some giddy up. How do we have that? What's our 2-minute warning in the salon? Mm-hmm. What's our 2 minute? Now, it may not be a day. It may not be a particular week of the month. It could be a time within the service steps that's our 2-minute warning, where it's win or lose. This is my time, where the majority, what matters is intense. The intensity of what matters is right now. I need to be present. And I need to know the play and the playbook. And I need to know what's expected of me and what's expected of my team, what's expected of the products, all of those things. Really important. And that's unique to your salon, but something to absolutely think about, because I'll bet you, without knowing, it exists in your salon right now. Mm-hmm. There is that critical time.
This one's out of order. I'm sorry. I don't know why it printed in the wrong order. So let's go to
This is how we.
So if you think about your playbook, this is how we open the business. This is how we close it down. This is how we learn and train here. This is how we assist. This is what our assistance program is like. This is how we honor each other during the service day. This is how we agree. This is how we disagree. This is how we meet, celebrate, collaborate. This is how we help, and this is how we give back. These are just examples of how we do things here. And, I've always talked about how some people do not help other people unless they're specifically asked. There's other people that you'll hear, does anyone need anything? Can I help anyone out? But not everyone does that. I think everyone will help. I think there's very few that will offer verbally out loud to help. They'll wait. till they're asked. Some people feel like if they ask, it means that you think that they're deficient versus just saying, does anyone need anything? So you've got to say, this is how you ask and find out how you can assist. I used to hate when I was in the restaurant and someone say, do you need anything? Does it look like I need anything? I am in trouble here versus what can I do? Put me to work. Just tell me what you need me to do. And, or direct me. Just give me some assignments. And I really enjoyed that. I knew, like I said, no, I didn't say it in this one. In the last e-learning we did for November, there's an art to seeing what needs to happen. And I love watching coaches on the football team because they're watching and they're saying, did you see that? What needs to happen here? And they're talking, there's people up in the booth looking down at the game. They're taking pictures of the game all the time and sending them down so people are looking at them. Now they're doing that all on iPads. But they're responding to what they're seeing. How is the defense? How they're responding to the defense they see. They're responding to the offense they see. And that's what we need to be doing in our businesses, is responding to the service that we see. How's it flowing through? Any customers? I'm surprised at the amount of times. I guess I never thought that I was not allowed to go up to another service provider's table. Some people say, hey, I'll get your server. No, I'm right here. What do you need? And you see that in salons too. I'm not going to talk to you. Oh, I was somewhere. I went to get my nails done and I do the new dip service. And
you can set up dip service.
I do the dip. And I'm liking it. It's my nails are a little bit too sensitive. They're so thin for no chip, but I'm loving the dip. And there's no, they don't have to be, what do you call it? Under the light, the black light. Cured. And so I went in and I had to go fast. And I went in at, my appointment was at 10. And I think at 9:30 I arrived. And I said, is my service provider here yet? No, she won't be here till 10. And I said, since these have to be soaked off, can someone else put the acetone on and soak these off? So when she gets here, that part's already done. It'll speed up my service. No, we're not allowed to do anything for you. You're her customer and we can't facilitate anything. And I thought, oh my God, you're not even listening. And what's it hurt to just throw some acetone on with that little thing and let me sit there? And so when she comes in, that's already done. I can't even imagine us saying no at PSC. I can't imagine many of your salons saying no. But I can see people thinking, that's a boundary I'm not allowed to cross. Mm-hmm. Right? We're not allowed to do anything until she sees you. That's not good. So this is how we do it here. And we are able to lean in. I mean, the amount of times I'm in a restaurant with an obvious dirty plate and a server walks by that's not my server, why don't they pull that and take it with them? It's just, I'll take that for you, and you just walk away, and you don't even have to say anything, you just take it, right? So let's go back to this. When you think about the playbook, and you say, these are our strategies for this week, this is our strategies going into the weekend. I think the two busiest days in the restaurant industry were always Mother's Day and New Year's Eve, always. There was a different layout of the restaurants, more tables were brought in, extra chairs. It was the busiest day and the worst day at the same time because the service providers had very little room in which to serve their guests. But you were in demand. It was two high producing days. And when we went in, we had to go in with a different mindset. You worked a different shift. Your menu was different. There were a lot of things different because volume was so high. The first thing that when they would present to us what that was going to look like, the first reaction could have been, no, we're not doing that. No, that's not going to work. No. And the last thing you want is people that squish the enthusiasm of what's coming. And then we could have been, are we that? We say no to everything? Or yeah, we've tried that, but it really didn't work. Yeah, but I think we should do it this way. Yeah, but, or is it, yes, it's a great idea, and can we do different centerpieces for the day? What else can we do? I don't know what your team's like right now. We've done a whole class on this before. What kind of attitude do you have from people? And everyone's going to approach this from their viewpoint. But when you look at the playbook, our playbook's necessary, and they'll say, no, we just do our own thing. Or, yeah, we've tried that, but it doesn't work in our salon. We don't know how to use the assistants. Everyone doesn't, no one chips in to help. Or, yes, we can do that and we can accomplish this.
And even these responses need to be trained. There might be a certain amount of it that's just people's personalities and their life experience.
Well, you call it their motor running too.
But you need to teach what's acceptable inside your company. And if you're looking for yes ands as the response, what are we doing to foster that? What are we doing to grow that? If we're getting mostly yeah buts, what are we doing to foster that? Because we're attracting it. And if we're getting all no's, what are we doing? What came before that? What can we take responsibility for? Because we can only change what we're aware of.
Well, your playbook this month could be a service special. It could be a free treatment in color. It could be, oh, I'm fine. You could do and if you don't have full support, what are you going to do? That promotion's not going to work, obviously.
Well, again, this particular month, they're just doing what they're doing. They're not, but I know what you mean. In a month, it could be a service promotion. Well, or it could be that you chose Living Social or Groupon or something like that, and you've got a staff that feels like they shouldn't have to be on that, so they're gonna sabotage.
Well, how was it presented? Was it presented as a playbook, or was it just announced, hey, we're doing a Groupon this month?
So sometimes we might be looking for a yes and response,
and we didn't set it up.
But have we attracted it? Yeah.
I agree. Okay. So let's go in. It's going to be you, because I don't know all the positions.
So again, for many of you, you've heard us talk about the Urban Meyer book, and I'm sure that his name has come up so much this year. The Ohio State coach, former coach now, as he's retired. But in his book, he talks about that his way was always teaching that they wanted to be 9 units strong every single game, 9 units strong. So these were the given units: quarterback, linebackers, special teams, defensive line, wide receivers and tight ends, cornerbacks, running backs, offensive line, and safeties. So those things all within their position. You might have, and then there were cases this year thinking about the Chicago Bears and whatnot, where they lost to the New England Patriots because of special teams. Period. 2 special teams, huge plays, and it cost them the game. The rest of the way, they dominated the game, but because they weren't 9 units strong, they didn't win the game.
Okay, so we're gonna go over here and make the correlation, but why is this so key?
Well, because it's, first of all, you want to draw the team's attention that they all matter, because you can't have a lack of attention or a it's not me situation. Quarterback knows they have to perform. The linebackers know they have to perform. If they perform with strength, they're going to, if they all perform with strength, they're going to win. If any one of them lets out, can you win a game 8 units strong? Yeah, sometimes. But it puts the business. 7 units strong, sometimes. It depends on the opponent, but the reality is they're all working toward that 9 units strong. They realize that age old, if it is to be, it's up to me. Better than any I is a we, and so it's very important that we foster that kind of a attitude within our team structure. If we say we're a team, then then every team member is as important as another. Right down to the practice squad, the team that prepares you for the team you're going to face that week.
Well, and there's a couple of things. There's that clip from Rudy that I love, and if you haven't watched it, it's a great film to watch. That and Remember the Titans. We've used those as referrals. I was watching Holland's Opus yesterday and this morning. Stop it! I could watch that movie every single day. The lessons you can learn in that. But what he says to the guy, I mean, Rudy made the practice team, and the one guy says, "Hey, your name's never going to be in the book unless you're on the field for at least one play." But he's on the practice team, and he hits, I don't know what the other position was. And the guy said, "What's wrong with you?" The coach said, and he said, "This guy is playing like it's the Super Bowl. His intensity is so high, he's playing like the Super Bowl." And the coach said, "You just summed up your whole career. If you had half the heart, right? Your whole sorry career. If you had half the heart that Rudiger has, you'd be All-American." Because the kid was talented, but he had no heart for the game. And as a result, his effort, right? We always talk about the leadership's job is to manage the effort. Manage the effort. I mean, manage the talent and let the individual manage the effort. And so when you look at 9 units strong, when they've gotten rid of players, it's so funny because we watch a lot of sports channels, but when they talk about getting rid of a player, it's usually not because of their talent, right? When they don't have a good fit, whether it's they don't fit, they don't show up to practice, they have distractions outside, domestic violence, whatever else is in the thing, but it's usually not talent that they're talking about. It's all the other things. So 9 units strong is you also have to have.
But that also goes back to we employ the whole person.
Well, yeah, we do, but.
And so they come in with everything that makes them up. Now, when you stop and think about us, or you stop, meaning us as you as Salon owners, us as a distributorship, a coach of a football team, you take that whole person, and out of that, all the positives, all the negatives, you still have to build a team that in this case is 9 units strong, taking into consideration that whole person. And there are times where a coach will give up on the ability to bring out the best in that person because of what else is available in that whole person. And there's times in salons where that has to be done. There's certainly times in schools where that has to be done. We see it. It happens. But you want to, the goal doesn't change. 9 units strong is what the goal is.
Well, the conversation I had with the owner last night about an employee, and you're talking, and this hairdresser, very, very talented, doesn't tell the truth. She can't tell the truth with her team. I don't understand that. Now, why would that be the thing that she lets get in the way, is being able to tell the truth? It's not a talent thing.
No, but it is a tolerant thing. She's obviously been places that tolerated that because of her talent.
And they've tolerated things because of talent in football, and then they've cracked the whip on it, right? Over things. And when they started putting in the drug policies, 15, 20 years ago, it probably was looked the other way before that, till it got to a time where they couldn't stop looking the other way. So now we look at what are the 9 units strong. And I did these. If you want to change them up or brainstorm with them on what they need to be, but administrative, what does that front desk look like? What is our system of checking in and keeping track and knowing how many guests are allocated to a service provider? What do the numbers look like? Or what are we communicating our stats like? What does that software look like that helps us communicate about our business? administratively, how are we? That's facilitating that traffic. That's a big deal.
It's huge. And you know what? It's, as many people will say, it's our first impression. It's our last impression with the guest. It's important, but it doesn't always get treated with importance.
Oh, no, it doesn't. You're right.
And that's sometimes one of the key weaknesses in a business, in a salon business, is that service desk. And so how do we treat that? I mean, remember, it's 9 units strong, whatever that is. If this needs to be 6 units strong in a salon, if it needs to be 12 units strong in a salon, that's up for conversation and
in your business. Yep.
Yeah, in your business. But if we say it's one of the units that needs to be strong, and I can tell you as coaches, Terry and I are saying right now that service desk, that front desk, that administrative team, it is key because of all the people. They influence your guest and they influence your staff. They see the pace, they see and help to create the service culture, the atmosphere in the business. They're everything. They're your business on the telephone. They're your business in times when things are run perfectly. They're your people that are face to face with the guest in times where we failed the guest. How do they get it? And so
it can definitely complement your business, and it can also really be a distraction in your business if it's the wrong person.
Oh yeah, and I guess my point in that is that if we know it's that important, and yet it's kind of the last thing we think about, what does that say?
Yeah, we would never say, I'm opening a salon. First thing I'm focused on is that front desk team. That would never be the first thing that they say. But it's really the quarterback position, because if it's done right, it's facilitating the business.
Setting people up for success.
Exactly right.
Those are the people that you're asking to schedule and measure the guest satisfaction of 6-figure hairdressers. That's pretty important.
Yes.
That's pretty important.
Mm-hmm. The next one is the service staff itself, the service experts.
And clearly that's where so much time is spent on the technical side of the business with our service providers, with our hairdressers, with our stylists, with our spa techs, all of that, all of the energy and dollars that go into training that group of people.
Now this part here, we're talking about just the way in which they serve, not the technical ability. We're getting that down in here. I thought it needed to be different because to give a haircut is only one dimension of the service.
Oh yeah, and it is a percentage of whether a guest will return to us, but there's so much more that influence whether a guest is going to return to us.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more that those service providers do. And are they service experts? Or are they just service providers? Do they understand the tone that we're asking them to set? Do they get servant's heart? Do they understand that they're the overhead and the guest is the profit?
So you look at the next one being the consultation or the image profile. I don't know what those are like. It really can set a business apart. Like Van counsels, he says it is the differential for him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't do it, you don't work there. Now there's other people that it doesn't. And when I was with him, I said, Van, Whitney, how do you protect this? It's not up for debate. I don't care if they've been a guest in your chair 30 years. You're still going to do the consult this way.
Very true. See, many times we look at people that are incredibly successful and we want to be them, but do you really want to be them?
And do what they do.
Yeah.
Because
You want what they have, not necessarily what they do.
Talk about pushback from our previous e-learning. You get people that they don't know how to have a conversation. They're better off doing a consult with a new customer than they are an established customer.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And they will tell you again and again and again that
She just wants this.
Yeah, they see the need for it more with the new guest than they see it with the returning guest. And just one quick analogy, when you go to see your favorite band, singer, group. Certainly in Terry's case, it's Barbara Streisand, and she still wants Barbara to sing her best songs. She'll listen to her new stuff, but she wants the over and over again best songs. Well, guess what? It's just like a guest. A guest never wants to be taken for granted. And sometimes the more long-term they are, the more friendly we are with them, the more that they're taken for granted. And so is that image profile, is that consultation, is it different than a new guest? Yes, but it's not that different.
I was watching The Voice, and if you don't think service and personality sells, in my estimation, a young lady was released this week, and she was singing Celine, and she sang some Whitney, and I think she even did it. She clearly was the most skilled, a vocalist, perfect pitch, not much personality, not a storyteller with her face when she sang. Her voice was the magic. If a coach gets in there and works with her, she needs to have her face tell a story, and she needs to have her personality come out. And I truly believe that's why I looked over at Mom and I said, she's going to be released tonight because she doesn't have the appeal that these people with personalities have. That's the same thing in a salon.
Yeah, and whether you call that the eye test, whether you call
Absolutely.
that the it factor, there are factors, and they can be learned. They can be learned.
You gotta work on it. I mean, they'll take that girl and figure out someone. You can't be that skilled as a vocalist and be ignored, but she's going to have to do a lot of work to create fans. Were you watching it at all? You know who I'm talking about.
No.
And
I'd like to.
I still can't believe that I was sick for her, because for her to look back and say, how did I get cut? If she doesn't figure it out and she's only doing it based on the ability to sing, she's not going to learn anything.
No, she'll get bitter.
It's all the other, well, exactly. It's all the other stuff. Someone could say, are you kidding me how I cut hair versus that one, and they're busy all the time? Right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. So then the next part is the grooming and the chemical. It's important, but it's equally important on all these other things.
Right. I mean, you could do all the other things, and if some of those things weren't right, you'd still fail.
But most of the dollars are still spent on grooming and chemical. Mm-hmm. For education and development. Yeah. And then what is our training and development like? What do they need to be working on? I was with one of our applicants yesterday, and talk about all personality. She's a new hire for us. And I don't know the total things I said to her, but I said, she said, what am I supposed to do when I go in the salon for the first time? I said, first date. First date. Just get to know them. Just introduce yourself. Maybe ask some great questions. What are the great questions? Why'd you name your salon? What you named it? What are the top 2 things you love about your salon? Maybe some questions. She goes, so I'm not going to say, what can I help you with today? I said, no, first date. First date. So it's our job to pace people's personalities. Take a look at them. I mean, she's got a big personality. And if I let her go, just let loose, I don't know what would happen. They'd probably say, oh my God, you got a wild one here. I think long term she'll be very good if she does the work and realizes that she's got to figure out how she's going to fit in. But boy, she's got maybe 6 months before she can offer really any advice. And I think she took that well. She listened, but you've got to be willing to be that honest with someone.
And that's tough.
It is tough.
It really is.
So the next one, we didn't have the other slide on here. We've been talking. The next one is inventory and support goods. Got to be an expert at that. I mean, you can't do your job if you don't have the tools in which to do it.
Mm-hmm. And you have to manage it. And like we were talking, I think in the pushback our previous e-learning, there's just ways. And you look at a salon that's well run, they're managing their usage products well, and they're managing their take-home products well. It's price of doing business. So it's part of the 9 units strong. It's part of what has to be done in order to put the key in the door in the morning. And if it's not, you're failing guests.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. Brand ambassadors, I think when we say brand ambassadors, it's easy to say, okay, this is the take-home brand that we're recommending, and this is the professional brand that we're using, and of course it's one and the same, but there's also a brand ambassador of your salon. And I love the salons that have done really, really well with co-branding their brand and also the brand that they've affiliated themselves with. That's part of the 9 units strong.
Well, the professional brand should complement your salon brand.
Yeah, it shouldn't be something that makes somebody look and say, huh? Yeah, or instead of, where they give their identity away to another brand.
Yeah, not good.
So be careful with that. And the brand ambassadors, they could be individuals or they could be the whole team. You could say that this whole team has to become brand ambassadors. And
I think back to the lessons we've learned from Starbucks. I still can't believe that they take coffee more seriously than we take professional products.
And it's why we line up to buy it.
Well, of course, but what are we learning from that? Right? What are you learning?
It's very true. And I guess we'll say this one more time, that they are a great example they're a great comparative to the salon business, because number one, everything that they provide service with in their store, they will sell you to take home. They're not afraid to sell you that to take home. They're not saying, well, if we lose them as a service customer because they bought coffee beans, or they bought K-cups, or a grinder, or an espresso maker here in the store, we won't see them in line in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening anymore. They're not worried about that. They know you'll be back. They just want to enhance your coffee experience. And I love one of their mission statement, which is to create inspiring moments in a person's day.
Hey, you love your coffee.
Isn't that amazing? They sell coffee. We sell beauty. We sell beauty.
And those are in our mission statements for the most part.
And we're just trying to go to work and do hair. We sell beauty, people's confidence, the way they feel about themselves after you do what you do. That's what's so important. We're far more important than a cup of coffee. And yet, do we take ourselves as seriously as what Starbucks takes themselves? I love that. We need to, that's something we need to take and steal, put in our pocket right off the bat. So important. What are our brand ambassadors? Having a coffee master at a Starbucks isn't more important than you having a salon master or a color master or a take-home master or brand master in your business. And yet, does it take time? Does it take study? Does it take money? Is it something out of the ordinary? Absolutely. Is 9 units strong, out of the ordinary? Absolutely. Otherwise, everybody would have had the success that Urban Meyer and Ohio State had, or Urban Meyer and Florida had. But they don't. And they don't because they're not looking at it in the same way. So what can we do differently? Especially now, while you're thinking about what's going to happen in 2019. And that rolls right into leadership and your leadership. When you're thinking about 2019, what's it going to take for all of us to, first of all, identify what our units need to be that create the greatest success for us, and then commit to building, training, putting time in each one of those units so that we have a reason to expect 9 units strong when we put the key in the door and allow guests into our business and allow them into our experience.
I think it's very attractive to be able to bank on these units. bank on them.
Mhm.
It's easy to work with somewhere where you can bank on the success of the other positions that are around you. I say to Steve all the time, when I look at, I'm walking around PSC, I think about, okay, how are we doing from taking the orders, and then how are we doing from order fulfillment, and how are we doing on education, and what is the store's example square footage. All square footage should represent education, and also, by the way, you can buy from us. And then what does the rest of our leadership team and our IT and our HR, and how does that all work together? And of course our field representation, all of those have to work very well and be absolutely transparent to the other people that do that role, so we can all support each other and know exactly what's happening. That's what you're looking for too. The transparency part is because you need to understand how you can support someone else also.
Mhm.
So I like this. We're going into the Ohio State's not in the Final Four, which is a shame, but Urban's going to be at the Rose Bowl doing his last game for Ohio State, and that should be a good matchup. But when you're watching football, watch their playbooks, or even baseball. Watch them in the dugout and see their lineup, and when they're going to put another pitcher in, and you see them looking at stats and left-handers and who's coming up, and it's all strategy. Please tell me that you're focused on strategy. That's what you want to think about to grow 2019. What are your strategies? What are your plans? And what's your insight to get there?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for 35 years of support and being part of the PSC family. We will promise not to ever take you or that loyalty for granted. We wish you an incredible holiday season.
Yes.
Is your hair okay?
I don't know. I just looked in there and I thought,
I wouldn't want that to be one of the units that wasn't strong.
Yeah, it's not. Terry's hair is not on unit strong.
So anyway, have a very blessed holiday season, and we look forward to working with you further and playing in this incredible beauty industry.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Bye.